Hey everybody, welcome back to a Denton County weather forecast, and today what we're looking at is the potential for some severe storms for Sunday night. Now, this does look like it could potentially be a severe weather outbreak, so we will have to be monitoring this very closely. You will need a plan in place just in case of some sort of severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, as there is the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and actually a couple of tornadoes could also be possible. I'll be breaking down all the specifics in this video, and I do apologize for the mic quality in this video. This will only be for Saturday's videos. I'll be back to normal in my normal studio by Sunday. So any sort of severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings, if I go live for them, you'll hear the normal quality that usually is presented, but I am currently traveling, so that's why I am on my laptop doing this forecast. But I'm going to break down everything you need to know in this video, so you're going to get the same knowledge that you would in any other video. So this is what we're looking at for the potential severe weather going into Sunday. So as of right now, and this is as of Friday night, so by the time you're seeing this Saturday morning, things could be a little bit changed, and I'll tell you what might actually change here right now. So this is what we're currently looking at as an enhanced risk here in this orange shaded region, and that is going to be anywhere for central and southeastern Oklahoma. This goes into northern portions of DFW, just north of I-30 or north of I-20. This is around Collin County and Denton County are included in this enhanced risk. This would be the most favorable area for any sort of damaging winds, large hail, or a tornado or two. So that is the best chance for anybody to see some severe weather. The slight risk does include areas like northern Oklahoma into central Oklahoma. It also includes portions like Dallas and Tarrant County. It also goes all the way over into Arkansas, so those areas are included. And then there's the marginal risk, including areas like just east of Wichita Falls. This does include Weatherford. Palo Pinto County is also included in this. It includes southern DFW. It goes all the way south as Waco, so this does include a lot of areas as well. And again, that's the lowest end risk. But I do think a few things will change with this forecast. One, I do think this marginal risk might shift back slightly further west, and mainly due to the fact I think this line might form slightly earlier than originally forecasted, and I'll get to that in the future radar in just a second. But that would probably be the most major change. I can't rule out that there's a moderate risk embedded somewhere in this forecast at some point, but for right now, it looks like we're going to stay with that enhanced risk. Now, obviously, things could change by the time tomorrow morning. I'll have an update on Facebook to see if there's any big changes with the forecast, but as of right now, this is what we're looking at overall. Here are the overall threats as well as what we're looking at. So again, the tornado threat is going to be somewhat low to moderate. I would probably go ahead and put this a little bit lower on the scale, just due to the fact that there will probably be a tornado or two at some point during this, array of storms, but it's going to be mainly a line of storms. It's going to be a linear line of storms, but the earlier these storms develop, depending on when the storms develop and how quickly they organize into a line, will really depend on if we do see any tornado threat. Now, if there were to be a tornado threat, it would be out of those discrete supercells, and sometimes a brief spin-up happens in these lines. But again, if there's any sort of discrete supercell that's, broken up from the line of storms, that is where you probably would see the greatest chance for a tornado. And that's what was most concerning out of this, since there will be plenty of shear to support potential tornadic development. But if it's a line of storms, it's a lesser chance. So just keep that in mind. If you see a line of storms coming your way, you're likely going to see damaging winds over a tornado threat. So just keep that in mind. But here's a look at the wind threat. That is the highest threat, and I cannot draw a line, but that is the highest threat of all of the primary threats, which damaging winds should be the highest threat, with that potential for damaging winds between 60 to 70 miles per hour. Isolated amounts closer to 80 miles per hour is also possible. And then also a large hail threat is there. This one is probably the second threat on the board. First is going to probably be damaging winds. Second would be large hail. Third would be tornado threat. And then a flooding threat is fairly low, as this will just be a line of storms moving fairly quickly. So we will not probably see too much of a flooding threat. All right, let's go to the future radar and kind of check out what we're going to be looking at on Sunday. So you can see this is Sunday at 9 in the morning. We'll stay dry through the morning, early afternoon. If you have any plans before 4 or 5 o'clock, you'll be perfectly fine. I'm not concerned about that. So going through the first few hours, you can see by 5 o'clock, we're still dry. 6, 7 o'clock, we'll start to see that trough starting to set up closer to Wichita Falls. Here's where that trough would be located, right about here. And this would obviously be impacting our weather. So that would be the area where those storms would probably develop kind of right along the cold front. And you can go ahead and see about 8 I just skipped back by accident. By about 8, 9 o'clock, we'll start to see that line starting to develop around Wichita Falls. That's why I said that marginal risk might shift back a little bit further west, with the large hail threat probably being the primary threat, as well as a damaging wind threat on the initial cells, and maybe a tornado threat as well. This is by about 9, 10 o'clock. You can see this line continues to push off to the east, and it gets very strong and very severe very quickly. Damaging winds, again, would be that main threat out of any of these storms with the downburst winds. That will be definitely the best chance of seeing anything will be the damaging wind threat. Again, a tornado threat could be possible, and you can go and see by a sounding on here. That is not a very good sounding. Let's go to an actual sounding in a thunderstorm. And, okay, it's not giving me really any good soundings here, but the general idea is that the threat for a damaging winds, hail, or tornado is definitely there out of any cell. You can see going by 11, 12 o'clock, this line continues to push through the DFW, and you can see Plano, Dallas getting impacted right around 11 to 12 o'clock. So it's not going to be a super late night event. So if you have work Monday morning, obviously you're probably going to hear this before you go to bed, or even if you're sleeping. But again, definitely have a plan in place. Make sure you have, if you have a weather radio, that's a great way to stay safe. If there's to be severe weather, especially overnight, make sure you have a way to receive alerts and not just my Facebook page, because obviously 11 to 12 o'clock at night is, an hour ahead of, it's actually an hour before my time. So I probably won't have any updates after about 11 p.m., 12 p.m., but I'll try to make sure you're updated as much as I possibly can. This is by 1, 2 o'clock. You can see the line continues to push to the east with a severe thunderstorm threat still existing as far east as maybe even Shreveport or anywhere in Louisiana. So it will definitely be a threat to watch out for, and there's definitely going to be a lot to watch on Sunday night. So let's go and check out some of the ingredients that we're looking at as well. Here's a look at the instability in the atmosphere as what we're looking at for Sunday. So you can see Saturday, and really all of Saturday and most of Sunday morning, we're not going to have any instability at all. It really increases with those southerly winds out of the Gulf of Mexico. You can see the instability values here across the DFW as that line of storms approaches between 2,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram. And that's at night, which is pretty impressive for a line of storms that's going to start right around sunset. It usually doesn't happen like this, but that is what we're expecting. And those values are high for nighttime. And you can see that the potential threat, here's a better sounding for you, is there's a potential for a tornado threat. And again, it says PDS tornado. That is really if it was to be a discrete supercell, that threat could exist. But I don't really anticipate something like a particularly dangerous situation at this point, at least. I don't see enough for that to be proven to a moderate to high risk extent. I think we're really just going to see an enhanced risk, if anything. Again, here's your look at your temperature and dew point. They're pretty close together at the ground, right between about 1,000 to 950 or 850 millibars. And you might not know a whole lot about what this SKU-T model is showing. That's what it's called. This red line is going to be showing your temperature, and the green bar or the green line is going to be showing your dew point. You can see the dew point and temperature are very close at the ground. They start to kind of, get a little bit off track as it goes higher up in the atmosphere, but you kind of get the general idea. It looks like a pretty good setup, and usually when you're looking at severe weather, you got to kind of see something. Let me get a brighter color here. You usually see something like this. You'll see the temperature and the temperature line kind of go like this. That's usually a good indicator that there could be a chance for some severe weather. We don't have any sort of temperature inversions. Which temperature inversion would be looking something more like this. Would see something more early being, the temperature increasing as we're going up in altitude, which is a bad thing for storms to develop. That's basically a cap in most instances. So just a little bit of scientific explanation for you, but that is just to kind of give you an idea on that. And see the instability going through the next few hours will stay fairly high, and then eventually as it pushes toward Arkansas and Louisiana, it'll probably start to dwindle, especially in the overnight hours. Here's a look at the cap as well. Giving you an idea on the cap, I don't really anticipate much of a cap, to be honest. This is going through Sunday afternoon. There'll be a bit of a cap for Sunday afternoon just before the evening hours, but that should very well taper off and weaken, so we should see really no cap being impacting the storms. Here's a look at the tornado parameter, obviously a very important ingredient to the potential tornado threat. And this is kind of concerning. And, with these initial cells, we could definitely see a potential for a tornado. As you see, values between, 4 to 5 is actually extremely high. And again, this is definitely not what you want to be seeing is, tornado values between 4 and 5. That is a very high-end risk usually. But again, this is going to be more of a line of storm. So if it does remain just the line of storms, we will not see as high of a threat. If it is more discrete supercells, which is not expected, that would lead to a tornado outbreak, but that does not look like what's going to happen. So there's some good news to this. Obviously, there's not all good news, but there is some good news, and value's up to 6. I mean, that is insane for this time of year. I mean, October, obviously, we see some severe weather, but we usually don't see, crazy severe weather. May is usually the time where we see the worst of the severe weather during the year, but obviously the ice storm that happened in February really impacted our weather for this entire year. I mean, we didn't really see a whole lot of severe weather back in the spring. That might be why we're seeing a lot more severe weather now, and that's going to be something to monitor, though. These values are extremely high, so we do need to monitor the tornado threat, but again, unless a storm is discrete, which means they're individually, going. So this is what discrete looks like. A supercell right here and a supercell right here. And then a line is obviously a line of storms, all grouped together. Again, if we're seeing discrete supercells, it would be a much higher threat. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. We will monitor this very closely, though, and see what every other computer model is obviously showing. That tornado threat really diminishes very quickly as it moves off to the east, but east of DFW. But again, a lot to watch over the next several days. Make sure you're staying updated with Denton County weather for the latest. We'll keep you updated throughout the day, Saturday and Sunday, giving you any updates on the severe weather potential. And make sure to follow us on Denton County Weather on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe here to our YouTube channel for the latest.